Hello A&P Honors Program, and welcome to CVA Academics Foundation, Inc. My name is Taylor Shively, and I'm one of the CVA staff members on the A&P Honors website. Welcome to What's on Tap, where every week we're going to introduce new content as well as talk with medical professionals about new topics in medicine, discuss any questions that you, the members, send to us on the platform, and answer quiz questions that we release online every week. Now, this being the first What's on Tap, we knew we had to bring a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. So I had the pleasure of interviewing Josh Seligman. Josh is a dual certified strength conditioning coach and athletic trainer who works as the head strength conditioning coach for the Milwaukee Brewers organization. Josh has a fantastic mind and an interesting perspective on just about everything we talked about. So without further ado, Josh Seligman.
Hey, great to be here.
Great. COVID, you know.
Yeah. It's just nice to be outside, really.
Yeah, be in nature. So before we get started and dive deep into, everything, what is your background? What's your educational background? How did you get here to be the head strength conditioning coach for the Milwaukee Brewers?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, looking back, I could have never truly imagined that I'd be here as a head strength and conditioning coach. When I initially went into college, I was a physics major.
Okay.
I was always really good at physics, and so my first 2 years, I was taking all those requisite classes. My sophomore year in college, my roommate was an exercise sci major. I played baseball in high school, so I was never the greatest athlete, but I knew some of the advantages of taking care of myself. So I was always into that sort of thing. And when I saw the test he was studying for and some of the labs he was doing, I was like, well, that's way better than physics. So I actually ended up changing my major, and it was one of the best things I could have ever done. I initially, at the time, was really into sports nutrition, so the exercise science. We didn't have nutrition there, but my advisor prepped me. You got to take a ton of chemistry classes and stuff. So when it came time to graduate, I applied to grad school, and actually my first master's degree was in sports nutrition. Going through that, I think I just got tired of counseling people on nutrition. So
it's a tough place to counsel people on nutrition.
Yeah, it got old, and at the time of putting myself through grad school, I was a personal trainer, and some of my clients were having just kind of weird ticky-tack pain that I couldn't really cure or explain, if you will. So I wanted to take an injury rehab class. So I didn't know it was going to be so intensive. I made an appointment with the dean of the sports medicine school there. 2.5 hours later, next thing you knew, I was assigned to a training room and working all these hours with all the sports. And I was like, wow, this is the greatest thing in the world. So after my first week in there, I walked out, and you know what? I'm gonna get another master's degree. So I went the sports medicine route. I ended up getting both sports nutrition and sports medicine. The whole time I knew I wanted to be in baseball, so I had been doing internships and just trying. A lot of my research projects were geared towards baseball, and was lucky enough to apply after I got my ATC, and got hired with the Florida Marlins.
Awesome.
And then from there, I just kind of worked my way through the minor leagues, and now I'm with the Brewers.
Being an athletic trainer as well, I totally remember the first couple hours I put into an athletic training room, and I was like, this is the best thing in the world. This is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
So I really respect that.
Right.
And so was there any specific class or certification that you took that primed you more for the baseball route than anything? Or was that just the desire?
Yeah, I think it was just the desire. I played baseball, so I worked independent ball in between semesters in grad school, and just kind of really loved it, traveling around the country at the time, getting the experience with me actually being able to go out in the field and play, and knowing what the guys were going through. A guy has shoulder pain, I kind of knew what that stuff felt like. So it was all really just something I had a passion for. And all the stuff I could learn, the anatomy, the physiology, the biomechanics, the motor coordination stuff, it was something I could attach it all to. So I was super interesting, super passionate anyway, but when you can apply it to something, especially as intricate as the human body, and then at elite levels of performance, it just helped it stick. And it was something I was passionate about. I would go home and read journal articles that weren't related to class at all, just because I was more interested in, hey, how can I help my athletes get better in the summertime?
Absolutely.
So it really helped me dig deep on that sort of stuff.
Awesome. So now that you are in the MLB, you are at the professional level, what does the day in your life look like typically? Maybe not like right now, but
Right.
When are you reporting? What kind of daily tasks or tasking do you do?
Yeah, and that's a common question. I get that one a lot, and I think the best thing for me is that no day is ever the same.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, there's the obvious stuff where, like this past weekend, I would have been in New York, playing the Mets, and getting to travel to a lot of different cool places. So you never know what city you're going to wake up in. But you get to wake up in a lot of different cities, a lot of different places. You get to work with highly driven people, which is great, but no day is typical. Sometimes a guy comes in and you got to tease out what's going on with him. Why is his hamstring tight? Let's do a little bit different stuff here. Maybe let's not do anything today. So just the undulation of the unexpectedness of it. Now, certainly, for a night game at 7 o'clock, we may roll in at 12 o'clock to get our paperwork out of the way. Then athletes start rolling in. But it's never like this, it's never so repetitive that it just gets dull. Like, I need, for me personally, just the constant stimulation, having to really apply myself. I couldn't handle, too much of a routine, if you will. And that's the best part about it, is it's constantly changing and constantly providing you with challenges, or we don't like to use the word challenges, but opportunities for us to help guys get better or win ball games.
Awesome. Now, I mean, you just said you would have been waking up in New York playing the Mets. Do you have a favorite ballpark to go visit?
So that's a loaded question, because some cities I like better than others.
Okay.
Some ballparks I like others. So I'll use Washington, D.C. for example. It has one of my favorite coffee places in that city, so I like going there. They have a really nice weight room. It's super big. If you ask the athletic trainers, they don't like it because their training room is super small.
Yeah.
The ceiling's really low. The hot tubs get super hot, so then the room's super hot. So everywhere's got a little bit different. Pittsburgh, the Pirates, has a tremendous view. Mm-hmm. I grew up a Dodger fan, so going to Dodger Stadium and Chavez Ravine is awesome. I am a Southern California guy who likes to surf, so every time we go to San Diego, I can get in the water there.
That's
so
awesome.
Each city kind of has its pluses and minuses. So, you try to tease that out. Which ballpark is the best? Which ballpark has the best fans?
Yeah.
New York, so I collect hot sauce. They were going to have the world's biggest hot sauce convention this year, but obviously we didn't get to go, but I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Colorado, which is an awesome city. A couple years back, my favorite band was playing at Red Rocks there.
Love that.
And that was the best concert I've ever been to. So you try to find stuff because you're away from family and you're home so much in every city that's unique.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could necessarily say which stadium precisely is my favorite, but just
you've got bits and pieces.
Right, exactly.
Appreciate that.
Exactly.
What's the most exciting part of your job? Is it athletes getting PRs? Is it getting to sit in the dugout for games? What drives that excitement?
Yeah, I think I like it because it's a meritocracy.
Okay.
There's not the social niceness involved. You're either winning or you're losing.
Yeah.
You're performing or you're not performing. Mm-hmm. And there's no way of nuancing that. There's no political correctness involved in it. It's like, it is what it is. Yeah. So you're out there, and if your team is hurt all year long, that's obvious. There's a lot of accountability there, and I enjoy that part of it.
Okay.
Obviously, going to the playoffs is unbelievable. My first year was 2011. When Niger Morgan hit his ball up the middle. When we were playing the Dodgers and Woodruff hit his bomb off of Kershaw, and just the energy that's involved with all of that stuff. Getting to apply, my knowledge of the human body to elite performers.
Yeah.
It'd be like being a mechanic for an IndyCar racer, and the fact that there's no hiding. Like, It's not like, no, the results are right out there for
Yeah.
you to see. And it's challenging, and that's what I enjoy about it is the accountability. It helps push me. I work around a lot of elite people, a lot of like minds, people that really like to sit down and think about stuff, figure things out. So all of those things are really great. The team aspect of it, where you're all kind of pulling the same direction, the camaraderie. I mean, there's just so many good things about it that I like.
Awesome. And now you referenced this earlier in one of your answers. You mentioned the athletic trainers and they have their own favorite, part. But on the day-to-day basis, what does collaboration look like in your job with different, obviously our platform has a lot of medical professionals on it. What in your specific area does collaboration look like?
Yeah, so from the medical side of things, we'll sit down every day, have a meeting, and all of us go over things. My assistant is also an athletic trainer, so I think it helps for all of us to kind of speak the common language. I think baseball, where you play every single day, you get a lot of repetitive stuff, overuse stuff. Having that kind of other side of knowledge of maybe more of the inert tissue, the fascia, how all those things work together, really helps us catch stuff super early so it never blossoms into something big. So communication there is we're always going back and forth. We have to be able to tap each other's strengths. If there's a guy who comes into the weight room and he feels like he's not able to turn his calf on, I can do a quick little test, or I can refer him to one of the trainers on the other side who's an NKT specialist and kind of roadmap the neurological system.
Yeah.
And then he can turn it on for me, and then he can come back in there, and now suddenly we got more explosiveness out of him. So it's super important. There's a whole nother side of things now that's growing in our profession from the sports science thing.
Yeah.
A lot of the technology that's sprouting up. So it's super important to be able to have that communication with, coaches, trainers, doctors, the players. And I think it's also really important to understand the different communication styles and techniques you have to employ when dealing with, maybe some of the different entities and how you engage them to do some of that stuff.
Gotcha. Interesting. So now, obviously you're a strength conditioning coach. You believe in fitness. I'm assuming you believe in your own fitness and strength conditioning as well. Given that, we're under lockdown, what are you doing right now to stay fit personally?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to understand that fitness isn't just physical, it's mental as well. So trying to have a routine that involves prioritizing yourself, not just from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and having a routine. It's too easy to get distracted when you are in your house.
Yeah.
You could be sitting there, but if okay, every morning I need to go outside and take my dog for a walk. That's something. That's a 20-minute walk to get you outside, clear your head, get some nice fresh air. And then in the afternoon around 1 o'clock, that's the time where I need to get maybe more on the fitness side of things.
Gotcha.
So having that space there so that I'm not getting distracted and making it a priority, but then also understanding what your hot spots are. For me, I like bourbon, and I have a pretty nice bourbon collection at home. And if it were up to me right now, I would just finish the night with a couple fingers or 4 of bourbon. But I know that's a hot spot. So I've made a point to, at night after I read my kids their bedtime stories, I immediately go down in the basement and force myself to either do some extra stretching, a little bit of light yoga, some core work, whatever it is, to just kind of get me past that point where maybe I would allow myself to fall into some bad habits.
Got it. Now, as a part of your fitness side of fitness, I guess, exercise, do you have a favorite exercise in general? Maybe not quarantine based.
Right. Yeah. I would say for me, again, I grew up around the beach, grad school in Hawaii. I'm a surfer. Okay. I'm an ocean guy, so surfing would be my ideal form of exercise.
Yeah.
I'd say over the last 3 or 4 years, I've really gotten into yoga.
Okay.
Maybe growing up as a younger mid 20-year-old, I didn't really appreciate yoga as much, but it is the oldest form of exercise by far, in the world, for good reason.
Yeah.
And I think you participate in some of the vinyasas, do some of the harder forms of certain movements, you start to understand how much it totally integrates. It's the neurological, the physiological, the biomechanical, all different systems of the body putting them together and then combining kind of the mind point of it. So,
Gotcha.
For now especially, it plays a big part in my fitness routine.
I'm a big hot yoga fan.
Yeah.
I'll fall into like binges of hot yoga where it's every day for 2 weeks and then I have to wean off. But if you were going to make a blanket recommendation for people looking to remain fit in this odd time, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to establish a routine. Have a routine. It's too easy to deviate when you don't have a routine. And then just don't look at it, and I don't think this is as much of the norm, although I still think it is people think being in shape is getting on a piece of exercise equipment or going to the gym, where traditionally that has never been what physical fitness is about. You look at some of the older gyms and stuff, and it was ropes, and it was a lot of physical things. So, go on hikes, get on your bike, take up the opportunity to figure out what a different hobby is. Go play frisbee golf. There's plenty of ways that you can either get outside or just move around and not necessarily have it be related to laying down on a bench and moving iron.
Got it.
And don't get me wrong, that's not necessarily something that it is beneficial in some respects, but I think there's this whole other broad part of fitness and exercise that maybe traditionally in the last 20, 30 years or so we've kind of forgotten about.
Got it.
Whereas more in a historical context, there was a lot more to fitness than that.
Awesome. And then last recommendation for the people on our platform that want to take a similar path to you, obviously maybe not step right in your footsteps, but what recommendations do you have for them? What advice could you give to that next wave of ex-phys, ex-sci students?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the biggest ones is just be passionate about it. I think one thing that really helped me is I'm really super curious about how the body works.
Okay.
Just to go like this, the number of chemical reactions and everything that has to take place, it's mind-blowing, really. And keep peeling those layers back, never be satisfied. I think the other part is to have a strong sense of honesty with yourself and how much you don't really know. I think sometimes the tendency is to think that, okay, I've got this nailed, like anatomy. Okay, I've got anatomy figured out. And then you kind of move on to the next part. But the other side of that is being able to take feedback. Yeah. I think nowadays it's difficult for whatever reason for either people to deliver feedback and then for us to want to say, hey, you know what? This person's trying to help me. They're not trying to attack me. And then how do you take that feedback in a positive direction and try to make yourself better? One thing that I was really lucky to have was I had 2 super good mentors. I had one as an undergrad, and then I had another one as a grad student. And the thing that stood out to me with them is that they were never scared to give me feedback. Yeah. But on the other side of that is I wasn't a know-it-all. I took that feedback and said, you know what? Yes, this is not good enough. I need to go back and work harder and do a better job with this stuff. Yeah. And then once they saw that I was willing to take the feedback, I think that's when they kind of, it became a really special relationship, because these people, mentors, teachers, professors, coaches, whoever it is, they've been through a lot. Yeah. And they have a different perspective than maybe your family or your classmates or people like that. And they can see things that you can't necessarily see of yourself. So keeping an open mind to that, I think, will help people kind of progress. And then I think the other one that maybe I focus more on scholastic stuff, but the other side of it is coaching and how to motivate people and do some of a little bit more intangible stuff. It's a little bit more nuanced, but it's a very important skill set to have. All right, so we got a physical challenge here, that they had warned me about. So in my head, I'm thinking, what the heck can I do with a mid-20-year-old, me being in my mid-40s, that I could not embarrass myself? So thinking of athletics and kind of along the same lines, Tom Brady has been very successful, not necessarily because he's the most athletic guy out there, but because he's got a certain amount of prowess when it comes to understanding how the game works, how his mind works, and being able to accomplish things very quickly. So along those lines, my challenge is a hand-eye coordination involved challenge. And so hand-eye coordination obviously being very important in sports, you know, some sports more than others. So the challenge here is to see if you can spin this pen on your finger.
Okay. So for all of you in the Milwaukee area, I'm a Marquette High graduate, and we learned how to do this before we could even walk in the door. But this is a light pen, so we're gonna have to see how this works.
I heard an excuse already. Okay, was that a double? Let's see a double.
Ooh, I don't know if I can do a double. How do you do a double? That's the challenge, I guess, but.
And then, so then were you guys trained in the left-handed version?
No, I was not. Well, some people could. I was focused on studies, Josh.
Okay, hey, you've already done better than I was anticipating.
A double? No way.
And that might be it.
Not just dropping pens. Sometimes I could go.
And this is what it looks
too.
like when you're trying to learn this in class. I did it in high school and was flinging it along.
I got yelled at in Spanish class once for dropping it too much.
So, anyway.
But I could never do the left. Awesome, thank you. Socially distanced celebration with Josh. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure all of our members are going to enjoy hearing what you have to say and learning from one of the best.
Right. Awesome. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.